Is Juve going to get after Samardzic? Well, apparently he is there for the taking, all right? We'll take a look at the details on that one. Berardi talks have begun, and we are not far off from a deal, apparently. Juve takes a friendly test, the final friendly test before the season kicks off against Alessandria today. We'll take a look at the details of how that game went down and all the other news coming out this morning surrounding Juventus, all right? I'm going to have a friendly reminder for all the Juventini out there, as I always do every video. Show some love and support for the channel, please, by liking the video. And, of course, if you're new here, subscribing to the channel. And for all the newcomers subscribing, welcome to the AJC Army and community, all right? I want to remind everybody what we have coming up for the season kickoff. Saturday, we have the live prediction show for 23-24 season. That's always a lot of fun. And then Sunday morning, we are going to have the preview show getting amped up for the Udinese match, and I will be bringing you a live watch along on Sunday for the season opener. All right, now let's get to the news, everybody, and we're going to kick things off with Rovella and Pellegrini as the deals are finalized and the details are out there. Rovella is in Rome today. We see him there being approached by a plethora of fans from Lazio as they are jacked up and excited about him landing. He's got a deal to 2028. Pellegrini has a deal to 2027 with a one-year option. Juve is to receive 21.5 million euros with a percentage on the resale on both players. Now, in terms of the money and the financials, I also have to make a correction on yesterday's video because the reports that I was reading about Zacaria's deal and the money being spread out over 4 years, it was also reporting that that would be the case for the books. However, I reached out to our friend Romeo Agresti and he says, no, the finances will be available to Juventus this season and hit the books this season. So I expect the same for this. This changes the landscape of what we were discussing yesterday drastically. And now with the Zaccaria deal and the finances affecting the books this year and the Rovella Pellegrini deal, Juve is pretty much right there at break even for the mercato as far as the expenditures that they've made and the sales that they've made. So they are pretty much at a break even now. Any surplus would go against that debt that they have that they are trying to cut into, which was around 120 million euros going into this mercado. And of course, there are some capital gains that are going to be seen in some of these moves that'll chip away at that, but nothing drastic, nothing big. So obviously the talks about a potential bond still lingering around Juventus, but we will see what happens. Rovella, Pellegrini, done deal. Miretti and Hans Nicolucci Caviglia, absolutely no decision has been made yet by Juventus. This one could carry on for at least another week, maybe week and a half, according to Mirko Di Natale. And he says we cannot exclude the possibility of not just one, but both players remaining with Juventus for this season. Cambiaso, he was seen at J Medical today. This had fans very, very nervous. Obviously, we know we have a bad history with injuries. However, it is nothing serious. He was only getting looked at for a sprained wrist that he suffered against Atalanta, and you could probably remember it when you watched the friendly that he was laboring with the wrist and checking it after some contact with one of the Atalanta players. So nothing to be concerned there with Cambiaso. He is actually also slated to start on Sunday against Udinese with Wea operating on the right flank. Bonucci, everything is done with Juventus. It is completely broken. He is waiting Lazio's answer, and if Lazio gives him nothing, he is heading to Union Berlin, according to all the reports today. Completely done and full breakdown from Juventus. Talks have begun with Domenico Berardi. We know he's got an agreement with Juventus. The two clubs have talked, Sassuolo and Juventus, and they are not far off from a deal. 10 million euros separate the clubs. Sassuolo wants absolutely no players involved in this deal. I find this surprising considering we have a lot of young players, but they want no players involved. They are looking for 25 million euros with 5 million euros in bonuses. Juve evaluates Berardi at 20 million. Be interesting to see what happens, but this one is even more interesting to see what develops, and this is Samardzic. Full breakdown despite agreements being reached, despite medicals. Full breakdown on Samardzic to Inter. Will Juve pounce on this move? Giuntoli has admired the player for quite some time, and Juve could go in, especially when you look at the details of the deal that was close to being finalized with Inter. This is very much in Juve's wheelhouse. You're looking at a €5 million loan on the first year, an obligation to purchase at €15 million in the second year, and a small percentage of a future sale for the player. This is something Juve could easily tackle. There are still rumblings that Juve would have to make some moves and some sales to get this done. However, we were hearing that Juve had already had the money available to make a purchase for Romelu Lukaku. So if that was true, they can handle this one with absolute ease. And even if you're looking at €5 million on a loan before you have to make the obligation for €15 million to purchase, this is easily able to handle right now. Will Juve act? We have to wait and see, all right? So it's very, very interesting, but a lot of Juventini are getting excited if we make that move. And then if we make that move, it would make sense to loan out Miretti and Hans Nicolucci, Caviglia, whatnot. But I would still prefer one of them staying and obviously move McKennie. But we know McKennie has no interest from any clubs he has any desire whatsoever to go to. So that's a problem. We will see what happens. But Samardzic there and available for Juventus. Today we had the friendly against Alessandria. This is our final test going into the weekend where we kick things off against Udinese. The game ended 5-0. Your goal scorers were Rugani bagging himself a brace, Paul Pogba, who took part in it, scoring a goal, Fagioli, who took part in it, scoring a goal, and then Vlahovic as well. Those are your goal scorers. And Iling Jr. played again as Mezzala in this one, and there are continuous reports that Allegri is going to be using him as one of the Mezzalas and looking to make the move on a permanent basis. I stand behind what I said earlier when these reports were coming out. We were seeing him through preseason. I think he's a much more effective player for us on the flanks. However, we have Cambiaso that can play both sides. You have Kostic and you have Weah. Maybe Max Allegri is looking for some insurance internally for Paul Pogba without being able to bank on him, all right? However, despite all this, Kostic being sold, rumors continue, all right? And they continue to follow the player and follow the club. Right now, we asked a poll question on Twitter. If you had to move one of these players, who would it be? Kostic, Iling Jr., and Cambiaso. 83% chose Kostic. The smallest percentage going to Iling Jr., all right? So maybe, just maybe, Juve makes a move. We still have to wait, but don't be surprised if all three remain at Juventus, which some Juventini are saying would be the smart thing to do, as you have Kostic, Iling Jr. on the left side. Cambiaso can play on both flanks, all right, to support Weah as well. We'll see what happens. Udinese, this weekend, this is your projected lineup. Szczesny, Danilo, Bremer, Gatti, Weah, Miretti, Locatelli, Rabiot, Kostic. However, Romeo Gresti says it's going to be Cambiaso, and then up top, Chiesa and Vlahovic. That wraps up the news for today, Juventini. You guys know the drill. Let me know what you think about everything you just heard, all right? Samardzic, do we have to go in there and get this kid? Let me know what you think about that one. The Berardi talks and us being very, very close. How you feel about it? And yesterday, the comments to the video were amazing. We saw a lot of great comments on the technical status and formation of switching to 3-4-3. How we feel about a potential move for Berardi. Alternatives. You guys coming up with great alternatives on what we should do rather than picking up Berardi. And I loved it all. So keep it going today, all right? And another last friendly reminder to please show some love and support by liking the video. It just takes a quick second, goes a long way. And of course, if you're new here, subscribing to the channel and don't miss any of the action that we're bringing you this weekend, all right? Until tomorrow's daily update video, as always, fino alla fine, forza Juve, ciao tutti.